the 2 years that I got the chance to spend with Peyton was incredible in terms of how he prepared, how he thought about the game, and then the way he would, relay that information into us as teammates.
You ever face the wrath of making a mistake? Because you were a young guy on those teams. Like, did you ever face some of that music?
I was playing scout team, and I, messing around trying to show a different look on the card, and he was like, "Benny, what are you doing?" And he asked me, "It's like that must be that Michigan State education there, right there." So he, he busted my chops about my alma mater.
Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos and Bourbon. I'm your host, Phil Milani. Very excited to have former Broncos wide receiver Bennie Fowler join us this episode here, and really a good interview. It was emotional, it was revealing, and it had some good stories. So I hope that you enjoy this with Bennie Fowler. We talked about his 7-year NFL career, his time with the Broncos. If you don't know this, Bennie caught Peyton Manning's final pass, the 2-point conversion in Super Bowl 50. He had a great story about what happened to that football. And in general, he had a few really good Peyton Manning stories that he shared with us. He's been paying attention to what the Broncos have been up to. He talks about Bo Nix, talks about Marvin Mims and the Broncos wide receivers, and then also what he thinks the Broncos should do in the draft. He talked a little bit about Sean Payton. Bennie went on after his time with the Broncos to play 1 year for Sean Payton, 2020 there in New Orleans. So he said sort of takes us behind closed doors and lets us know what Sean's like in the locker room. And then, we talked about all kinds of different things. A lot about that Super Bowl 50 team. We talked about Demaryius Thomas. I got a little bit emotional talking about DT. Kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But, this was just a really interesting interview. Bennie was very real about his time after playing football and what that was like for him emotionally. And then he also talked about his relationship with Draymond Green, the Warriors forward. They're both from Michigan, both went to Michigan State, and they're close friends. So a lot of good stories, and maybe you don't know that much about Bennie Fowler, but I think that you'll really enjoy this conversation because it was just a really good interview. So I hope that you enjoy it, and stick around for a bourbon review on the other side. But I hope that you enjoyed this conversation from a couple of days ago with Bennie Fowler. Bennie, thank you so much for taking some time to hop on the show, man. How you been?
Phil, man, it's great to see you. I've been great. Things are going well. It's always good to just reconnect with old friends, It's just being in the locker room. You got a real chance to see me grow up from a 22-year-old, and I think I left Denver at 26. But, yeah, man, it's good to see you. Things are going well. So I know we were catching up, offline, but, yeah, things are going well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Congrats on a heck of an NFL career. 6 years in the NFL, 3 with the Broncos, and then now you're working with a company called Caprock.
7. Don't
7?
Don't short me a year.
I'm sorry. 7. Okay, my bad. Oh, because you did a little thing with the 49ers, right? Like for a second there, is that right?
I had 4 years in Denver, and then 2 in New York, and then 1 in New Orleans.
Oh, you know what it is I think that Pro Football Reference, they kind of like mess up like the beginning of some careers. So, okay, 7 years. My apologies. Yeah. Well, that's a heck of a career, man. When you consider like what the average is less than 3. So, congrats on an amazing career. But I was going to say, now you're working like on the investment side with Caprock. Is that right?
Yep, working on the investment side of things. I think I've always had a interest in working with high performers, entrepreneurs, athletes, C-suite executives. Both my parents were in the C-suite. My mom was a founder and entrepreneur, starting her own small little law practice. Dad became and worked his way up at Ford, became a corporate asset, then COO of Jaguar and Land Rover, vice president of global quality and manufacturing for Ford. So combining their worlds into my sports world, where there's a chance to work with high performers. Everybody tells you how to make money. There's always these different things on how to keep or make money, but how do you keep it? How do you help people, think about their legacy, think about things long term, think about asset allocation. And there's just so much out there, and being on the inside of it now is just it's great for me, and it's also a place where I can serve people.
What do you think it is about high performers that you connect with?
I think, well, it's a couple of different things. Being a high performer myself, you're always looking and trying to find ways to be better in all different areas. I mean, when you're in the football building, as you know, being around, John Elway and the Peyton Mannings and the Demaryius Thomases, Emmanuel Sanders, the Von Millers, the Keep Talibs, whoever it may be, the time that we spent in that Denver Broncos locker room, everybody's always trying to get better. And it's not, these huge drastic leaps. It's these small things day in and day out. And I think I love process. I love that there is a process. You know how every week is going to go in the NFL in terms of the preparation part of it. Now, Sundays is a different thing, but when we think about the preparation, Phil, you and I both know how Mondays go, how Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays go. And up until game time, you know how everything is going to go pretty much until the ball is kicked off. And then after that, it's how do you adapt, how do you adjust? But I love the process in terms of high performance. And, it's these small little details that you have to focus on every single day to become better.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I think people don't really think about what the week during the NFL is like and how much preparation and little details they pop up on game day. Because if you're prepared, it's like muscle memory, right? So like if some crazy situation pops up and you're ready to go, that makes the difference between winning and losing a lot of times, huh?
Yeah, you sink back to your level of preparation. I think, the 2 years that I got the chance to spend with Peyton was incredible in terms of how he prepared, how he thought about the game, and then the way he would, relay that information into us as teammates. And we were prepared for a lot of different situations. I mean, our walkthroughs, you'd have a walkthrough before the walkthrough, but you would walk through all these different scenarios and situations, 2 minute, end of half, 2 minute end of game, 4 minute end of game, different things, no huddle. We would walk through all of these different scenarios every single time to just make sure that we were prepared.
Yeah. Well, how much did he sort of like motivate you? Because like you didn't want to mess up in front of Peyton, right?
Yeah, I would say it was not, well, it's motivation because you want to make the team because you want to be out there to catch passes from him.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you definitely don't want to. You definitely don't want to piss him off, and not being in the right spot at the right time. If he tells you to be at 12 to 14 yards, that means be at 12 to 14 yards. If he tells you to be at 10 yards, he wants it exactly at 10 yards. And he knows, he knows why, and he just knows and can understand the game in so many different ways. But yeah, there was definitely some motivation in terms of my study habits, in the ways in the way I would go home and study the film, and then mostly and most importantly, study the plays, so that you are on that same page with him.
You ever face the wrath of making a mistake? Because you were a young guy on those teams. Like, did you ever face some of that music?
Yeah, I faced some of the music, not necessarily for offensive play. I was actually playing scout team. And I, messing around trying to show a different look on the card. And he was like, "Benny, what are you doing?" And he asked me, "It's like that must be that Michigan State education there, right there." So he busted my chops about my alma mater and gave me some flack for that. But he did it in a funny way. And obviously, you've been around Peyton. He's not disrespectful at all. He's super super funny. But yeah, it was on a scout team card. So for the audience out there, scout team is what we do to prepare the offense for a game. And I was playing scout team defense because you only have 11 players on the practice squad, so you have to play some defense every now and then. And that's what I was doing. I was filling in for a defender, and he was like, "That is so wrong."
Yeah, you're trying to be the opponent, during practice there and giving them a good look so that you can get ready for game day there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Peyton a little bit later, but how much do you watch the NFL these days? How much are you invested in, like, hey, what's going on with the Broncos?
My first couple years out of the league, I wasn't invested in it at all. I think when you become a player, and especially a player like myself who was undrafted, who went to a couple different teams, sometimes you have to have players be injured for you to get your shot. And I wasn't watching it. I was kind of watching the game in that aspect. Like, are there going to be players that get hurt so I can get another call, so I can extend my career? And that's not a positive way to watch it. There's a couple years where you just really hate the game, and people tell you that your time is up and that you can no longer play when you turn 30 or whatever it may be. So you don't have this positive outlook and lens on the game of football, and it's just coming from a place of hatred. But I think, doing some work on myself and then stepping away, now I watch the game with such a positive lens over the last couple of years, really enjoy the strategy and how teams are put together, the offense, how they're attacking the defense, vice versa, and just seeing the small little things that I noticed from championship teams and then also bad teams and leadership on so many different levels. Definitely paying more attention to the Broncos now that we have a legit quarterback, that we're not doing the quarterback carousel every offseason. So it'll be good to see, and just watch them grow as a team and an organization. And then also Sean Payton, somebody who I played for in 2020, just looking at his leadership and the things that he's been able to do and how he's been able to turn around this organization so quickly just after 2 years going into his third year.
How do you think he's been able to do that, Benny? Like you played for him, like you mentioned there. What is take us inside that locker room and maybe some of the prep during the week during practice? What is he like in some of those closed door situations?
Yeah, Sean's an old school coach. Number one, he's very old school in terms of the way they practice, the way they install, the way they watch film. But definitely in terms of the way they practice, he's very old school. And I think one of the things in the way he's been able to do it is that Sean has a vision, and he has a vision for each player and how they fit on the roster and how he wants the roster constructed, especially on offense. He knows different body types. He's coached different body types. He's seen it all for how long he's been in the NFL. And then he has great mentorship from Bill Parcells and some of the other coaches that he's learned from. So he knows how to articulate a vision for a team to the coaches, and then articulate a vision to the players and how they fit in the roles that they fit. And he sees people in, especially on offense, that's what he sees.
And what does it mean by old school? Like he's like kind of like a hard ass, or is he like just like really focused on all the little details? Because like I've seen him where he stops practice, reset if you're not doing it right. Is that what you kind of mean by old school?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a hard ass for sure. Definitely a teacher of the fundamentals of the game. Mm-hmm. He's a teacher of all aspects of the game. He will stop after a period or after a play, and he will break down why that play is important for the offense and the defense. And he will bring back a story in terms of how this might have happened in New Orleans or when he was in Dallas or just other scenarios, so he can start to paint that picture for a player to understand why this play is so important. Or, hey, we are working on third downs. We're working on 3rd and 3 to 5 today, and why this is important, and the percentages of how you can convert third downs, and if you convert third downs, your winning percentage and how it continues to go up. So he's just a great teacher of the game.
And I was talking to Aqib Talib on here a couple of months ago, and he was like, look, when you're a player, when the coach is in front of the room talking to everybody, you kind of know instantly if if he's going to command that respect, and everybody's like sort of like focused on him. It feels like Sean really, he's a great communicator. You mentioned like his teacher. It feels like everybody's like on the same page, and like the culture in the building, it feels like it's night and day different than what it was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, leadership is everything. Especially, Aqib has been around, coaches like Belichick and Kubiak, and he's seen, and McVay, all different personality types and different styles in terms of how they go about their business. But yeah, if you're in the building with Sean, you know exactly where the Broncos are going on the business side of things and on the football side of things. And all those coaches know exactly what the standard is. And he's not going to lower his standard for anybody because he holds himself to that standard. And I know he wants another Super Bowl.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that he's fighting for that. Okay, you mentioned a real quarterback now. What do you think about Bo Nix? What do you like about him? What does he do that makes him sort of obviously this franchise guy now for the Broncos?
Number one, I think he's been around the game. I think he loves the game. He's very passionate and fiery. You saw him him and Sean get after it a little bit on the sideline this year. And that's because he's competitive and he wants to win. He's super tough. I love the fact that he can run. I think you have to have a quarterback in today's day and age that can be able to extend the play. So I like that. I think he became accurate over the year. And then I also he started to find his rhythm within Sean's offense. And I think, going from year one to year two, you'll see a big progression in terms of who he is as a quarterback and in the way that he will progress. And I hope that he's reaching out to guys like Peyton or not Peyton, but Drew Brees and other people who have played in this offense to really get the fine details and intricacies of like what makes this offense great.
As a wide receiver, you like to play for a quarterback who's got that edge, who's like fiery out there, who shows that competitive spirit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quarterbacks that I've been able to play with, Peyton, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, those top Hall of Fame quarterbacks, they all have a fieriness about them. They all care about the attention to detail. They are all willing to do the work and probably work just as hard, if not harder, than anybody in that building. So definitely appreciate them in the way they go about their business.
And they've been busy this offseason. They added a couple pieces on the defensive side that everybody's excited about. They added a tight end and Evan Ingram. What do you think they need to do in the draft coming up here?
Definitely need a running back. We definitely need some explosive plays, and we need to be able to get that out of the backfield. I think, always adding a skill position. I think receiver is something that we can, just fine-tune a little bit more. But I definitely want to see us, go after a running back. We need that explosiveness. You see what the Eagles did with Saquon. You see the impact that Josh Jacobs had with Green Bay. You also saw the impact that Derrick Henry had with the Baltimore Ravens. And when you think about the top teams, the top playoff teams that won playoff games, they had a great running attack.
Yeah, it's like kind of like old school now. Running attack, good defense, like a lot of the way that you guys won Super Bowl 50. So
I don't think those principles actually ever went away. I think people, got enamored with the passing game and Patrick Mahomes no-look passes and different things like that. But if we think about, their opponent twice in the Super Bowl with San Francisco 49ers, where their game is predicated off the run game. You think about the Eagles. That never went away. Kansas City, decent run game. Quarterback uses legs, though. So I don't think it ever went away. I think people are still always going to be enamored by the pass and what these guys are able to do on the run. But going back to first principles of NFL football is being able to run and being able to stop people up front.
Did you watch particularly like the Broncos wide receivers? Like, I'm curious what you think of some of these guys. Particularly the guy who's I'm really interested in is Marvin Mims and like the growth of his career. Clearly, he's got a ton of talent. He's a blazer. He's got that speed out there, and the Broncos have like used him a lot of different ways. What have you thought about like the way that he's sort of come through his first couple of years here in the NFL?
Well, number one, I think he's an incredible returner. I think he was Pro Bowl returner 2 years in a row. I don't know if he was All-Pro, but I think he might have been All-Pro. So I think that's a huge plus when you have somebody that is that dynamic that can make plays in the return game. That's huge. I think he's starting to get more comfortable as a receiver and just as a pass catcher over his first couple years. And I think it takes you a couple years to learn the game. I mean, we could think about back to DT. His first couple years, you got to learn how to play the game. Cody Latimer, you got to learn how to play the game. Myself, you have to just learn how to play and go about your business as a receiver in the NFL because of the timing and the speed from the college game to the pro game. So I think that's what we're seeing with Marvin Mims. And I think Sean has found different ways to use him and his skill set. He's not putting him in this box of like, hey, just because you're this and you came out as a receiver that we got to put you in the slot. Hey, you can run down the field on a go route. You can run a post route. We can give you the ball in a reverse. We can give you the ball out the backfield. We can give you the ball in a shallow. So this is where, Sean is, finding different ways to use him and utilize him and his skill set.
Yeah. Get the ball in his hands and let him just sort of operate there, and good things are probably going to happen. The draft process is going on right now here, Benny, and all these guys coming out from the college game. Tell me, what was that process like for you? I know that you ultimately were a college free agent, but what was that couple of month lead up to the draft like? Can you kind of tell us what, from a player's perspective, like, is it just constant anxiousness? Is it the uncertainty? Like, what? Tell us what is the mind frame of some of these college guys coming out?
It's a lot of emotion or ups and downs, I would say. It really just depends. If you're that guy who's projected first or second round, you want to go first round, but you're going to have that opportunity to play, and you're going to have your name called. For somebody like myself, I had realistic expectations. I was projected rounds 5 through 7, but coming off of a year at Michigan State where you go 13-1, you win the Rose Bowl, you're the leading receiver on that Rose Bowl team. You're like, okay, like I'm going to hear my name called, and it's going to be the first step to my dream is that I now have this opportunity to play in the NFL. And I think we got into round like 6 and 7. I was getting some calls like, hey, you might get taken in the 7th round. We might take you in the 7th round. And then pick by pick goes by. And you don't get drafted. So I'd love to shout out my dad right here who was coaching me in real time. Because my phone's buzzing my agents like, hey, we got, 10, 15 teams calling about preferred free agent. And I just could only think about the fact that my name didn't go across the ticker and nobody called me to draft me, thinking my career is over. And my dad was like, you can look at the fact that nobody called you or drafted you, or you can look at the fact that these teams want you to come try out for their team. And in that time, he helped me go or reframe that from disappointment to opportunity. And now help me make the right decision of who has a history of playing or signing a undrafted free agent every single year. And the Broncos had that. So that's why I chose to come to Denver. You have an opportunity to learn from Peyton, Demaryius, who I watched his highlight tape. I didn't know anything much about Emmanuel at that time, but I knew about Wes Welker, and here we are. And that turned out to be a great decision for me.
So that history with the Broncos, that matters for guys when they're looking. It's not just like, hey, which one of these teams are going to pay me the most? It's like, hey, where do I have a realistic chance of, clicking in?
That's something that my agent pointed out to me. He was like, if you're going undrafted, there are teams that have that who have that reputation of an undrafted player making their 53-man roster. I think Denver was one of them. Green Bay, I think, is another one. But there's a couple of them, maybe New England. But those are the only places that I was thinking about going, because they actually take a look at undrafted players playing for them instead of being the practice guys or practice squad guys.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I always hear these guys talk about it's not how you come in, it's what you do once you're there, and hey, this is just a start of your career here. So I love what you were able to do. You became a Super Bowl champ. Benny, is it hard to believe that we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Super Bowl 50?
Yeah, it's crazy just how time flies, and you see your life progresses, you become more mature, you see people go on to do different things, a couple teammates that we've lost that, you just don't think about that at such a young age, that, you just think you have so much time left. So it's definitely, bittersweet that we're coming up on 10 years, but that was an incredible team, incredible camaraderie, real relationships, and super blessed to have that early on in my career, because I could go to different teams. Number one, I know what was it like to have a championship effort and practice the right way and have your different habits. And then also just how special it is to actually win and how hard it actually is to win in the league.
Yeah. What kind of like a mentor was DT to you, even after you left the Broncos?
Just my time, I was his shadow. Phil, you saw me in the locker room. I would do like almost everything that he would do. I had the same physical therapist. I still had some of his gloves and, catching everything. Just little things, because he was a big receiver. He was a big receiver who could run routes. So I was a bigger receiver. So how did he think about running routes? How did he think about training? How did he think about eating? I don't know if you remember, in 2017, him and I both did the vegan diet. I was doing it. I didn't do it because I wanted to do it. I did it because DT was doing it. So, just little things like that are the things that I appreciate about him. And, he took time with me to teach me the game and understand concepts and understand how to really be an NFL receiver.
Yeah. No, he was an amazing guy. When he wanted to announce his retirement, me and Ben Swanson, who we both worked for the Broncos then, we flew out to Atlanta. We spent like a whole day with him shooting like this retirement video, and that was just 6 months before he passed away. So I just really cherished that day that we got to spend together, because it was just a lot of jokes and laughing, and really, that was a special day. So He was an amazing guy for sure. So I wanted to ask you though here, you caught Peyton Manning's final pass. And I know that you've told this story a lot of times, but did you know that maybe this was going to be his last game? Like, was there a vibe that week or that whole year maybe that like this might be the last time for Peyton? And then late in the game there, you're like, hey, this might be it. Like, were you even thinking in that regard at all, like that week and even in the game?
I wasn't thinking like that at all. Number one, I was too young to think about. I wasn't thinking about Peyton. I was thinking about, I need to catch a pass. I need to score. I need to find a way to be remembered in this game. So I was thinking more about that. The week leading up to it, Phil, I think your first time at the Super Bowl, it was my first time, in the Super Bowl. I was more so worried about my family and making sure they had tickets and then making sure that I knew the game plan because I'm playing in the biggest game in my life. So I had no clue that this was going to be or could be his last game. I wasn't watching SportsCenter or any of the talk shows, so I wasn't paying attention to any of that. And then when, I caught his last pass, more people came up to me and said, hey, this could be the last throw because I had the ball with me, but I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just glad that I caught a pass in the Super Bowl on TV in front of my family and friends and, wanted to make sure that my dance was done right.
But you held on to the ball though, right? So like, were you thinking like, hey, this is going to be my ball. I caught this pass in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was all I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then everybody was like, hey, people were taking pictures with me after the game or of just the ball and me holding it because it could have been his last pass ever. And it, turns out to be, but Phil, I wasn't thinking about that like one bit. I was just like, man, I caught a pass in the Super Bowl. Like, yes, and it was for points. I was just excited about that.
That's what I remember when Julius Thomas caught his 51st pass in 2013. Like he spiked the ball, and it went flying. And then I think Eric Decker had to run over and pick it up and be like, hey, this ball needs to go back to Peyton here. And even in Super Bowl 50, Malik dives on that ball in the Super Bowl, it throws it into the stands, these are crazy moments, but I'm glad that you held on to it. And then what happened? What was the process like after that?
Held on to it all night, took it to the club with me, had it everywhere, and then flew back with it. And then we had the parade, and I was getting this jersey. I have a jersey is his last ever regular season jersey, the game against the Chargers. He was signing that for me, and I just offered it to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I would really appreciate that." And kind of threw me off guard. I was like, "Man, you have everything. You want this ball?" But it was the right thing to do, so I gave it back to Peyton.
Wow. Okay, so you got his last regular season game jersey signed in exchange for the ball, then?
No, not in exchange. I had that. So.
Oh, I see. He had already given that to you.
We're warming up before the Chargers game at home where he's backing up for Brock.
Yeah.
And we're just throwing the ball back and forth. And I was like, man, Peyton, I would really love the jersey. He was like, yeah, man, got you. Give it to you after the game. He ends up coming into the game. We go on that run. We get the number 1 seed. And Demaryius and Emmanuel are fighting over the jersey after the game of having having that jersey, not knowing if it would be his last ever home jersey. And Peyton was like, no, I already promised it to Benny.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. That's awesome that he was like, no, I already did. I already promised it.
Yeah. Man of his word.
Yeah. That's amazing.
He could have easily, I was a second-year player at the time. He could have been like, yeah, I'll give you another one. I'm going to give this one to DT, who I've been playing with for the last 4 years. But he's like, no, man, I promised this to Benny already. So he has it.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. You keep in touch with Peyton much these days?
Just when I see him at games.
Yeah.
I know he's busy doing Omaha productions and everything like that. But, when I see him at games or anything like that, it's, we pick up right where we left off, which is just, a great relationship. More so mentorship because he was in year 17 when I was in year 1. So.
Yeah. And now you're busy too, man. You're doing stuff with the media. You got the Caprock thing. And you also wrote a book. I mean, tell me a little bit about that. How did that come to be? And, what is it like to be an author?
It feels great to be an author and to write a book just because you're getting your thoughts out, and you go through this imposter syndrome of like, who am I to write this book or to share this knowledge, but who are you not to? So, my wife has been very encouraging in terms of who I, continue to be and how I grow. And I just appreciate things like that. My book was more so for people to, tell a different side of story. Mm-hmm. You always hear about, really sad stories of, how somebody made it out of poverty and to become a professional athlete. Well, that's not the case for me. Went to private school, super blessed with having both parents in my life. That doesn't mean I was guaranteed I was going to the league. Like, I had to do a tremendous amount of hard work. So I'd like to tell that from my perspective, but then also, you have guys like a Darquez Denard, who's a really good friend of mine. You have stories like my brother of different perspectives on hard work and principles of success.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share that.
Oh, awesome, man. That's such an accomplishment, just to be able to, everything, all the steps that it takes to actually publish a book. That's quite the accomplishment. So congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
I just had a couple more for you here. You mentioned your alma mater, Michigan State. How much do you follow, like, what Tom Izzo does every year, and how does he do it?
Coach Izzo, he has a foundation for his program and how things are ran. I'm very close with Coach Iz. I go back, and every time I go back, I spend a lot of time with him. He's somebody I've known since high school, when I was thinking about, when I still had hoop dreams and wanted to walk on in Michigan State. So very close with Coach Iz, text him every now and then. And, my brother had a chance to work with him. So how does he do it? Hard work. But he has a foundation for his program and the types of players that he has. And Michigan State's built off of toughness. So we will outwill teams, and that's how he's been able to do it.
That's amazing. So what ultimately happened that you stopped trying to walk on? Like, were you thinking maybe you could play football and basketball there?
I wasn't good enough at football to try to go play basketball. The walk on was just kind of a dream, and because I love basketball, but I was not even close to being a good enough football player to go walk on at Michigan State basketball.
Okay, got it. And I don't know how many people know this, but you're very close friends with Draymond Green, right? What's your friendship like there?
Man, we've been friends for a long time. Since I was 15, he was 16. We're coming up on almost 20 years of friendship since high school, and both winning championships in the same year. He won his first one in 2015, and then we had the 2015 season, mm-hmm. and then we win it in 2016, and we win it in San Francisco. So it's just kind of crazy serendipitous in terms of, the way we won. I won 2 Big Ten championships in college, and so did he. We lived in the same spot. Our families are close. And I think it's hard to come by good friends who care about pushing you to become the best.
Yeah.
And the friendship I have with him isn't because we both played sports. It was because when he went to the pros, he came back to Michigan State one time and he asked the strength coaches, how's Benny doing in the conditioning drills and this and that. And it's like, oh man, like he really cares about me being successful. So little things like that are how friendships are built. The championships and us going to the pros, that's great. But, do you want to see somebody else be successful is also great.
I imagine that you guys are competitive. I mean, have you tried to play basketball, with him, against him? Like, what is the competitive side?
We played against each other in high school.
Yeah.
We played against each other in high school, and, they blew us out. And we were good. I mean, we were number 1 in the state. They were number 2, and I think they beat us by 35 in front of Coach K from Duke, Izzo, Calipari. It was bad. It was super embarrassing.
Oh.
But I haven't played him. We play, or we're competitive in different ways now. Pickleball and fun things like that. But no basketball.
Got it. Okay. And, I think a lot of people who watch are Nuggets fans and stuff, and they think of Draymond, as sort of this heel out there, like he likes to play on the edge a little bit, but you obviously know a different side of Draymond. I mean, it's nice to hear, that he's one guy on the court and a different guy off it then, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're competing at the end of the day. I mean, you've been around Keep to Lead, Phil.
Yep. Same way. Yeah.
Nobody wants to be you want to be on his side when you play against him. Or when you're playing,
yep.
When you're playing, playing with him, but against him, he's a different person. And then when you get back into the locker room, he's a chill guy.
Yep. No, that's a good. Akib is a great guy to sort of make that comparison. You love when they're on your side, and you hate to play against them. So definitely
100%.
true. And he does some media stuff too. His podcast is awesome. So, yeah, you guys are following very similar paths there too. So
I gotta reach out to him.
Yeah. See, get on there, man. Yeah. Okay, I just wrap up these things with some rapid fire questions here. We call it Phil's Five. Okay. Who was your favorite player, any sport, growing up?
Ooh. Kobe Bryant. Easy.
Kobe. Yeah, the mentality. Yeah, Mamba mentality. Okay.
It wasn't even the mentality. He was just somebody who didn't process failure. He was just like, he was willing to take the shot, and he was, if he airballed 3 times, he wasn't embarrassed. I was like, man, like,
yeah.
How do you have that type of mindset? Yeah.
Okay. Who is the best teammate you ever had?
Russell Shepard, New York Giants.
Oh, really? What was that? Why did you say him?
Incredible energy, very consistent person, just a loving guy is my favorite teammate.
Okay. Who's the best guy you ever went up against?
Stephon Gilmore.
Okay. Yeah. What was it about what that day?
Just super patient, just knew concepts, knew how to do things at a high level. Yeah, just really good player.
I probably know the answer to this next one, but best team you ever played on? It could even be high school or that Rose Bowl team too. So
the best team I ever played on, I was on practice squad, would be my rookie year. And that's when, that team had the same defense that we had for the Super Bowl team, but Wes Welker on offense, Julius Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders. We had 2 receivers go for 3,000 yards. Wes in the slot, Julius. We had 13 Pro Bowlers. That was the best team by far.
Yeah, that was a crazy season. It's not always those teams that win that are the most talented. So, okay, and then the last one for this is what's the favorite lesson you got from a coach throughout your athletic career?
My mom. She's like my life coach. So, work before you play, and all your life you will thrive. But you got to put in the work first.
Work before you play. Okay, I love it. And then the final thing I'll ask you here, and I ask everybody this, is for some career advice. And I think that you'd be a great person to answer this. Just talking about your time watching football, the work that you put in to now be able to enjoy the game again. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who maybe this fall is going to be their last or is going to be their first fall without playing, without the sport in their life? What would you tell like an athlete like that who no longer is playing the game that they love?
That you're not alone, that you will, this is a part of life. Transitions are a part of life, and how you handle it will tell you, where you're going. But there are going to be ups and downs, and people have to reinvent themselves all the time. The principles that you learn from football actually carry over into life in a whole bunch of different ways. And relationship capital is the most important capital that you will have. So start building those relationships now, and continue to build them. And football does not have to be the end of your story.
Yeah. It's just you got your whole life ahead of you, man. That's good advice there, man. Well, hey, Benny, I appreciate it. I don't want to take up – I could talk to you all day here, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. But I really appreciate your insights just on life and your football career, and also, a little bit about this year's Broncos and stuff. It was just awesome catching up, and I'm so happy to hear that you're doing so well.
Appreciate you, Phil, man. Thank you for having me.
We'll have to do it again. Thanks, Benny. My thanks to Bennie Fowler for spending some time on the program. I really enjoyed that conversation. Just some really honest answers, I thought, from Benny, particularly about watching football after he retired, hoping that something would happen so that he could get a phone call to maybe try out for a team or catch on somewhere. So that was real. I think that was a maybe a surprising answer, but I think that was really real. And then also just enjoyed his perspective on watching the Broncos now and where they're at. And then also those Peyton Manning stories, yelling at him for playing the wrong defense on scout team. That's classic Peyton Manning there. But so is what happened with the football there and how he promised Benny that he'd get that jersey from that Chargers game, and he came through on it. So I thought that was awesome. That Chargers game still chills from that game for me. Being on the sideline, the feeling when Peyton Manning entered that game, and the vibe in the stadium that day. If you were there, leave a comment because it was something else. There was a sort of a magical feeling inside the stadium that day. So I really enjoyed that conversation with Bennie Fowler, and I hope that he's doing well in his post-football career. Not a ton of football talk to get to right now. The draft is still, about a month away. The owners' meetings are coming up next week, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of news from the coaches' breakfast there at the owners' meeting. So I'll, of course, be covering that here on Broncos and Bourbon. But, and then maybe we'll do like a draft lead-up, maybe try to get a draft expert or something on the program here in the next couple of weeks. Let's get to my bourbon review here. This one you maybe not have heard too much about, but this is Nelson Brothers Whiskey Classic. This is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys from Nashville, Tennessee. This is a good one. I've been drinking this just a little bit here over the last couple of days, and I've really enjoyed it. A little bit on the sweeter side, but I think that for this price point, this was about $34. I think I found it. Really good, actually. So this is a great value bourbon, and I've really been enjoying this. It's 46.65% alcohol, 93.3 proof. So, and it's from Nashville, so not in Kentucky there, but they call this a high rye whiskey, but the mash bill undisclosed. I could not find the mash bill here, so let's pop this open. Good color on this one. I like the color here, and more importantly, I love this cork top. Really a great wooden color there, and then I just love that cork sound. I mean, popping it like that, I love it. Okay, new rocks glass here. What do you guys think of this one? I like this rocks glass. It's kind of lighter, and I like that. Okay. So I've been drinking this a little bit, so I'm a little familiar with it, but it's very fruity, which maybe for this time of year, weather's starting to get a little bit nicer out there. Maybe you'll enjoy sort of a fruity, you're definitely getting caramel, a vanilla. Yeah, it is. It's like sweet to start, and then you get a little bit of that, little bit of oak, not a ton, but you get the caramel first, and then a little bit of that spice, high rye, and then it's like balanced by the sweet. So like, it's surprisingly complex. Do you know what I mean? It's like sweet, rye, spice, a little bit of the oak, and then sort of I wouldn't call it a long finish, but it's like more of like, it finishes, but you're still thinking about the flavor that you just experienced. My guys over at Breaking Bourbon, they say you pound cake. And then once you read something about the flavor, you're like, you think it, and then you can taste it, So it's kind of like a reverse there. But yeah, you can kind of taste some pound cake. So I enjoy it. It's like the finish is like sort of fast, like it doesn't linger, but it's like kind of complex. The palate is complex on this one, so that I don't really mind the short finish. And the proof is good. So like there's enough oomph there. The finish maybe like little brown sugar, that sort of the normal flavors. But like the guys on Breaking Bourbon say here, it says classic here, but it's really not a classic taste. It's like spicy and then also sweet. And for this price point, it's really good. I've enjoyed this, and it's been enjoyable. So I do recommend. I think you can find this nationwide. Nelson Brothers Whiskey, and this is the classic. So I think they make a reserved as well, but a reserve. So give it a try. Let me know if you've had this before. Leave a comment, and in general, let me know what you think about this interview here with Bennie Fowler. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and like I mentioned, we'll be back talking more football here with the owners' meetings coming up, and then of course a draft just about a month away. Really feels like everybody's got like a running back coming to the Broncos, so it feels like it's heading that direction, but then maybe not. So I don't know. We'll see. A lot of information these days that's going out there. You don't know what to trust. Are they putting things out to try and lead people off the scent? What are they doing? It's the draft lead up. That's why it's fun. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like and subscribe. We're building this brand, baby. We're getting this thing a little bit bigger, and it's been a lot of fun. The Mace episode did really well, so thank you all for checking that out, and hopefully you enjoyed this one as well. All right, that's going to do it for us, for Broncos and Bourbon. I'm your host, Phil Milani.